The following program does not have a normal intro because I was really too busy smoothing other things over to get it done. So, Ori? Good evening, everybody. Welcome to the following program. I'm your host, Joe Neerman, a.k.a. Good Lawgic. It's election night. I am going to be covering the election. I know that you look at my thumbnail, you see, oh, you're going to be all about that VP pick by Kamala also ran Harris. And yes, there's going to be a lot. I got a lot of stuff to let you know about that VP selection pick, that whole shenanigan that went on. I'm definitely want to cover some of the primaries because there's some really awesome developments, really good, which I think actually bode very well for as far as measuring the zeitgeist of the nation as it stands in summer 2024, and hopefully directions that the country is headed. So we're going to cover all of that today. But first and foremost, just coming out of the gate here, I do want to jump right in on the big loser of the day. The big friggin' loser of the day. Because I got to tell you, one of my pet peeves, right? I mean, one of my pet peeves, everyone knows this, is I can't stand the JINOs. I can't stand the JINOs. I can't. So watching a JINO like Josh Shapiro just utterly flame out in his efforts to go full JINO. And you know what they say? Never go full JINO. You never go full JINO. Never. And he went full. I mean, this was the tweet of the day. Where was you? The funniest tweet of the day. It's not even close. This is tweet of the month. The tweet of the month. Where are you? Here we go. Courtesy my good friend Ron Coleman. Oh my God. This was genius. After Kamala Harris announced that indeed she was not going to go in with what was presumed to be the front runner in the guise of Josh Shapiro, but instead was me opting for Minnesota Governor Tim Walz. This is what my good friend Ron Coleman shared out there. Poor Josh Shapiro stitched his foreskin back on for nothing. Oh my God. Josh Shapiro, Pennsylvania Governor Josh Shapiro, who is one of the worst people in the world. Really is one of the worst people in the world. Terrible human being. Terrible human being in so many ways. If his last name wasn't Shapiro, if he wasn't a JINO, he would still be up there. Being a JINO just makes him that much worse. In case you're wondering why I keep using the word JINO, JINO is a reference to Jew in name only. I don't refer to everyone who's an irreligious Jew as being a JINO. Not at all. Even if they have a Jewish last name. It's only the ones who bask in their Jewishness and use that usually as a basis to have a moral high ground to bask Jewish-related things. Those are JINOs because they don't actually care about their religion. They don't care about their faith or their culture, but they just want to use their name. And I mean that quite literally because you can usually tell when it's a Jewish last name. They want to use their name and the fact that they have some sort of Jewish DNA floating somewhere in their wretched bodies as a basis to basically tell you that they have a reason to be standing on a platform and telling you everything terrible about Jews. So those folk are gross and disgusting. And those people are the ones who I love to watch when they get their comeuppance. And that's why Ron Coleman saying poor Josh Shapiro stitched his foreskin back up for nothing. Oh my God. Wow. And he said, in case you missed it, disgraceful, Christian Camera pointed out, Shapiro scrubbed his Wikipedia page of his IDF service. He worked for the IDF, and he's like, no, I don't want you to know about that. and distancing himself from his pro-Israel past in his desperate efforts, because he's like, please love me, please, please, Democrats, oh, please respect me. I know you hate Israel, but I know you hate everything related to Jews, but I'm one of the good Jews where I'm willing to spit on everything about my DNA. And I'll come out here and I'll be one of those Jews who come out and tell you that Israel, patui, 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 patui. And you should listen to me because my name is Shapiro, which is obviously a very Jewish last name, not simply because there's another very famous Shapiro out there, which is on the other side of the aisle, but because it's always been a pretty famously Jewish name. But yeah, that's where this guy came from. That's who this guy is. He is pure JINO. Everything about him is gross and disgusting. And I'll tell you right now, like I said, I don't care. I don't care if those people who's just want to blend in or just never raised in the faith, never raised in the culture, never learned about it, always thought it was, the culture in Torah was weird because they just, that's the way they were raised. That describes most Jews. That's the reality for most Jews. The vast majority of Jews know far too little about our faith only because they were raised in scenarios where they just didn't know anything about it. I certainly don't hold that against them at all. I wouldn't hold that against them anymore, against them at all, any more than I would hold against them that they can't speak Russian as well as a 5-year-old Russian kid. Why would I hold that against them when you're not in Russia? You're not in that culture. You don't understand anything about it. Why would you be able to speak Russian? I can't speak Russian. A 5-year-old Russian kid could speak Russian a lot better than I can. So, too, if you're not raised in a Jewish environment, you're not going to know anything about it. And that's totally, that's on your upbringing. That's not on you. But it's when they turn around and they're basically like, no. Look at this. I got a big Star of David over here. I'm a big, the name is Shapiro. Know about it. Remember the name. Going on and on. I'm going to be part of the IDF. Oh, yeah. When being pro-Israel is politically expedient, I want everyone to know about my service in the IDF. But as soon as October 7th happened and all the debacle that happened for PR for the Israel ever since then, it's like, oh, I don't know anything about it. Please, I'm okay. I'm one of the good Jews. I'm one of the good Jews, not one of those bad Jews. I'm one of the good ones who's willing to spit at Israel. Go to hell, you loser. You loser. And what I love about this, is that the left was calling him out on it. And that's probably why it's articles like this one from the Daily Beast, which we'll get to in a moment. I'm going to get to this in a moment, which was calling him out where he U-turned over his old story. He was an Israeli army volunteer. That story, which came out on August 3rd, probably was a very significant factor. Very significant factor where Kamala's like, I don't think we're going to be able to hide the fact that you're Jewish and you kind of embraced it. And let's face it, Democrats, not too fond of the Jews. Not too fond of the Jews. So, yeah. I mean, I understand that the donors mostly are wealthy Jews. I don't deny that. I can't deny that. Many of them are self-hating. And they're so conflicted. I've spoken to some Democrats who are irreligious Jews, big donors to the Democrats, big donors to the Democrats, and they're so horrified by what they see happening in their own party. I mean, horrified. And I can relate because I'll tell you something. I've seen some really gross kind of anti-Semitism from certain wings of my side of the aisle as well. And that's one of the reasons I rarely talk about Israel in general. But the Democrats on the other side, and most of them are more uniparty. They're not really as hardcore progressive, but they tend to be mildly progressive. They're just they're so revolted by their own party. It's a delicious thing to see. Yeah, so here you go, Josh Shapiro. This tweet though from Ron Coleman. It's just freaking genius. Stitch his foreskin back on. Nothing. I want to check out some of the quote tweets from this before I get over to some of the very, very generous support that I see Melanie and others giving me. I see Melanie and others giving me some very generous support here that I don't know if I really merit, but I definitely don't want to be on that. But yeah, so where was we at here? That's why I quote tweet. That's gotta hurt. For those who don't understand the awesome tweet from the great Ron Coleman, Hellenized Jews throughout history did this Antiochus the fourth reign during the era of Hanukkah. Yeah, zero patience for these people. And just like that, Ron Coleman won tweet of the day. He really did. I told him this is the best tweet of the month. There's so many different ways I wanted to play this. When I saw this tweet, so many different ways I was going to put out there. It's like, which line do you use? Which line do you use? Which one? I can't use them all. You got to sort of pick one and just go with it. I was going to go with, like, this is really making a big deal out of nothing. I think I used on one of them. It's like he tried to become the Joe Lieberman of came up inches short. Oh my God. This was my spirit animal as well, Stealth. It does win the internet for today. Anyway, just sitting here desperately trying to hide. Oh, no, I don't really support Israel. I don't really support them. No, make me your vice president. It's like, can you imagine if the Democrats had actually went with Josh Shapiro? And it's like, no, she really is black. No, she really is black. No, Josh Shapiro really isn't Jewish. No, he doesn't really like Jews or Israel or anything. It's like they're going to sit there on both sides. Like every time anyone gets up, it's like, you're fake. You're poser. You're fake. You're fake news. You're fake news. You're fake. They're just fake. What can I don't know. I can't say they're just fake. They're fake news. They're fake. What do you need me to watch the chat for? Rumble is there. Rumble. Why is Rumble not there? All right, I'm gonna add Rumble in now, and I'm gonna just for like 90 seconds. I'm gonna pretend I just started now. Okay. Hold on. Let's see if we can fake out Rumble. Okay. Hold on.
The following program does not have a normal intro because I was really too busy smoothing other things over to get it done. So, Ori?
Good evening, everybody. Welcome to the Fire Program. I'm your host, Joe Neerman, a.k.a. Good Logic. I know it's been ages. It feels like it's been ages and days. It's just really, I don't really have much to talk about. I don't really have much to talk about at all. That's really what I got nothing to talk about at all. Really, very little. But anyway, what I do plan on talking about is the election. I might not talk about the Josh Shapiro stuff so much. I know I referenced it in my thumbnail, but there's not much to that story. It's a very, very small story. It's a very, very small story. I was talking about it with some friends recently. I mean, I was, and if you had actually had a camera on me just watching me, you would have seen it, but you missed it by inches. There's really not much. There's really not much there. There's not much there. I mean, everyone's trying to make a big deal, but at the end of the day, it was like one of those fisherman tales. Not nearly as big a story as everyone was pretending it to be. So anyway, I got some chats that came in before the show, which I really should get to here. Melanie Hicks, you're awesome. Great show. I don't know if is my soundboard working? No, it's not working. Dang it. Where's my sound? Hold on a second. Let me see if I can fix my soundboard. I need my soundboard. That's not it. That's not doing it. Oh, it did work. All right, there we go. There we go. You see, you gotta hit that soundboard. Watch this. A little. That's for you, Melanie. God bless you. Thank you so very, very much. You're awesome. Master Phillips hitting with 5. Count them, 5. Good Lawgic memberships. Good to see you. That's the king of the recruitment weighing in there. Do I have who you brought in here? I'm not sure if I do. I might have missed it. I did. And I feel terrible. I'm gonna upgrade you because I missed that. I also missed out on Melanie, who hit me up with 20. Bring it. New members to the following. Those of you who are new to the following, I'm going to urge you to please identify. Was it Master Phillips, king of recruitment? Was it Melanie, who's just like, known pretty much as Magnificent Melanie, who gifted you with your membership and brought you into the fold, into the following, into pretty much the greatest gathering of people seeking greater personal growth in the history of such gatherings. And it's really like, it's not at all a cult type of cult. It's not at all a cult type of cult. It's really just about community and unity and leadership training skills. And through that we come to greater personal growth. Please bear in mind, Joe, me, yours truly, I am not the leader of the following. Say it with me, okay? Joe is not the leader of the following. And again, not at all a cult type of cult. There's no Kool-Aid. There's no Kool-Aid. Everyone knows that. Even if I try adding Kool-Aid in, YouTube says no. There's no Kool-Aid. They literally kept the Kool-Aid out. There's literally no Kool-Aid. And again, I'm not the lead. There's no Kool-Aid. There's no self-harm. There's no harming others. There's no squirrel mutilations. No goat sacrifices. No stabbing yourself with the jabby jab. No throwing virgins into volcanoes or dancing around bonfires in the middle of a forest while shucking off your clothing to the beat of a tom-tom. No goat heads in the back of the room. There's no going out and running laps while howling at the moon with like a giant ahoo. None of that. It's not at all a cult type of cult. It's just about you're part of the following. You're part of the following, and we're glad you're here. We have cookies. Fix. What does that mean? Rumble looks good to me. I don't know what you're talking about. What are you talking about? I'm looking. Everything. Rumble looks good to me. I don't know what you're talking about. What are you talking about? You see that echo you just heard there? That was Rumble. I don't know what you're talking about. Rumble looks great. They're saying Rumble. What? Hi, Rumble. Hi, Ghetto. You didn't miss anything. We just started the show. The show started a little late. Sorry. Anyway, so yeah, I will mention this about Josh Shapiro. Who did try stitching foreskin back on himself in order to try and pass for someone who's not at all a supporter of Israel, never was in the IDF, never held pro-Israeli views, and got busted by the Daily Beast. In this article here that nobody watching this show has seen me pull up at all on screen before, and that's Josh Shapiro U-turns over old story. He was an Israeli army volunteer. Josh Shapiro abandoned a 31-year-old claim that he volunteered for the Israeli military shortly after it resurfaced Friday. The Pennsylvania governor, who is the favorite, was the favorite until we wrote this article, to be named Kamala Harris's running mate as early as this week, and wrote a newspaper column as a student in 1993 in which he made the claim about helping the Israeli Defense Forces. In the article entitled Peace Not Possible, a 20-year-old Shapiro wrote about the Palestine Liberation Operation Organization's agreement with Israel at the Oslo Accords. Despite my skepticism as a Jew and a past volunteer in the Israeli army, I strongly hope and pray that this peace plan will be successful. At the end of the article, his short bio states that he spent 5 months studying in Israel and volunteered in the Israeli army. The op-ed was dug up by the Philadelphia Inquirer on Friday, and Shapiro quickly disavowed the claim. No comment! No comment! The comment drew interest from the Jewish National Synagogue on Friday, which pressed Manuel Bonder, a Shapiro spokesperson, for clarification on the extent and nature of his service in Israel. Quote, "While he was in high school, Josh Shapiro was required to do a service project. He had to do a service project, which he and several classmates completed through a program that took them to kibbutz in Israel, where he worked on a farm and a fishery. He didn't have a gun. He didn't do nothing. All those claims he was telling you for years about how he's a soldier. No, he was a fisherman. He was. We swear. We swear." Yeah, we know he's telling you that he was like all brave and strong and he's a member of the IDF. We've been saying that for years, but we really meant he was a fisherman. He was like one of these amazing fisherman people. He was like a natural. At 20 years old, he had never set foot in water. He grew up in a desert, wandering around in a desert for the first 20 years of his life to relive his roots. And then not relive his roots, relive the roots of the oppressed Muslims. And and after that, they threw him in a water in the middle of the kibbutz, and he was a natural fisherman. Like he was just like attacking it with his hands. He looked like Gilligan out there, where he's just got his two hands, just like catch a fish, catch a fish. That's all he did. That's all he did. We don't know why people would think. Why would anyone think he was in the IDF? Why would anyone say such a thing? It doesn't make any sense to us. All these people reading his quotes and his bios. Oh my gosh. What is wrong with these folks? I don't understand it. The program also included volunteering on service projects on an Israeli army base very far from any guns. Very, very far from any guns. And no time was he engaged in any military activities, even though he pretty much implied that for the last 30 years, but now really regrets ever taking that position. Comments came after Shapiro canceled his gubernatorial campaign fundraiser this weekend, with Vice President Kamala Harris expected to announce her VP pick, because everyone was like, oh, yeah, Josh, come to the dance, Josh, come to the dance. The Democrats are making a big, big party for the VP. Come on. You're the guest of honor, Joshy. Come on in. Oh, whoops. Sorry. No Jews allowed. Democratic Party. What do you want? No. Nine. No Jews. You the Rhine. Oh, my God. The racist Democrats. The Jews in that party are starting to wake up, I think. They're starting to wake up. A group of Pennsylvania lawmakers came out and supported Shapiro as VP on Friday, figuring that, hey, we'll have more power if he has more power. Bonder added that Shapiro has also disavowed his other comments in the student op-ed, including one sentence where he says Palestinians are too battle-minded to be able to establish a peaceful homeland of their own. Governor Shapiro has built close, meaningful, informative relationships with many Muslim, American, Arab American, Palestinian, Christian, and Jewish communities all across Pennsylvania. He's a really, really great person. He doesn't believe any of the stuff that he said his whole life. Shapiro added in a press conference Friday that I was 20. Come on. I was smoking pot back then. Now I'm on cocaine. I'm a whole different person. I've said for years, before October 7th, that I have favor a two-state solution. Israelis and Palestinians living peacefully side by side. I knew much less about this situation when I was actually there and living there than I do now when I haven't been there in decades. So why would anyone take me seriously back then? It doesn't make any sense. So he sat there desperately trying to gain recognition, find favor with the very, very racist Democratic Party, though we really can't stand Jews, blacks, or any of these people we pretend to be supporting party. And he figured that he's going to gain admission, become the second Joe Lieberman. Going to go down with all the glory of Joe Lieberman. All the glory of Joe Lieberman, and unsadly for him, fell inches short. Just missed it. Missed it by that much. Anyhow, How about just common sense and not follow it, not a following, just use look, just to clarify for you, Melanie, just to clarify for you, the reason that everyone's called followers is because the show is called The Following Program. So the show is called The Following Program. So it makes sense that people who are joining are going to be followers. That's the only what if it's called The Following Program. What are you going to call the people? What do you call them? Like you call them a school? You can call them student? No, they're followers. That's what they are. It's The Following Program. They're followers. But that's not to say that this is about trying to program you into being some sort of cult follower where you're going to just become absorbed into this group, which is sitting here just trying to make your conscience part of a greater being. No, there is absolutely, it's not programming. It's not programming. Nobody is programming you. Nobody is trying to convince you of anything at all. No. This is a place of freedom. This is a place of openness. This is a place of expression. There's zero efforts to try to program you. Nothing. This is not at all about, it's just, we mean program like a show, the program is on, it's not the following being programmed. That's what you're not at all. So, and I'm not the leader of the following. Understand? That was clear now. Thank God you said there's no Kool-Aid. I was getting nervous. I joined a cult. It's nuts when military service harms your political career. It is, right? You would think that would be a good thing. All right. So let's talk about the man of the hour. The man of the hour. And then I'm going to be providing some election coverage afterwards. Some election coverage because there's some really, the election coverage really helped underscore what a boneheaded pick Tim Walz was. What an utterly boneheaded pick Tim Walz was, because it was a very, very stupid pick. There were a lot of better options if you're Kamala Harris, most specifically Mark Kelly out of Arizona. The dude's an astronaut, for crying out loud. I don't know what she was thinking here. You have no idea. I mean, the world is not yet. If you thought Kamala was a leftist, oh my God. I don't even know where to begin with this guy. I do know where to begin. I do. So first and foremost, yeah. So how does he feel about the primary issue of the day? If I had to ask you, what is probably the two biggest issues of the day, you would say, I would guarantee that 4 out of 5 of you would say the economy and the border. Well, where does he stand on the border? Where does he stand on that issue? You might be wondering, what's his position on the border? Oh, well, Vice President Kamala Harris announcement Tuesday, Minnesota governor will be a running man in 2024 election, increase the spread of false claims, according to AP. False claims, about the Midwestern Democrats, some of which appeared on social media even before Harris made her pick public. Here, look at the facts. Because we got our fact checkers, and fact checkers tell you what the facts are, because that's why we call them fact checkers, because these are the people you should believe when they tell you the facts. And they say, Walz said on CNN, they want to invest in a ladder factory to help people scale the wall on the U.S.-Mexico border and illegally enter the U.S. The facts, that's false. He said it, but that's false. Post a misrepresented comment Walz made in an episode of CNN's Anderson Cooper last week. In the full segment, the Democrat criticizes former Donald Trump's plan to build a wall on the southern border by joking about the hypothetical investment. So wait. So he did say it. You're saying that he wasn't serious. But anytime Trump says anything as a joke, you take it completely serious. But when Tim Walz says, I want to invest in ladders, 30-foot high wall ladders, if the wall's 25 feet high, I want to invest in 30-foot ladders. The point is, why is that a funny joke to him? Like, why? Do you think that the border is a joke? You're making like this is okay because it was just a joke. So, but the point forget about whether you actually literally mean you're going to invest in ladders. The only point to the joke is he's totally fine with people coming in here. He's totally fine. Obviously, he's not going to be building ladders. That's because he'll make sure that there is no wall. So yeah, that's why it's a joke, because everyone knows that he's going to do everything he has to make sure there is no wall. But it's like the point to him making that joke is, oh, I want everyone coming in here. So yeah, it is true. It is true. Nobody thought he meant seriously that he was going to be giving them ladders. Nobody thought that. And that's why AP here is full of crap. You're liars. You're liars because you're saying it's false. No, it is true because the point of the joke is exactly the same point as to why people are making the claim. That whether he's joking or he's serious literally about ladders, at the end of the day, the guy is totally happy with millions of people streaming across our border. And that's the point to his joke. So how the hell is that false, jackasses? Tell me. I want to know. Someone walk me through because I don't understand. How is that false? What part of it is false? He literally said it, and the point behind it is exactly what he was trying to express. It's like they think everyone is an idiot. It's like they think everyone is an idiot. So apparently he's okay with the idea of there being of the border basically being completely ignored. But it's more that's only one place. That's only one place that he weighed in on that issue there. Where's what I was looking for here? This is what I wanted. Once they get here, how does he feel about them? What should we do with them now that they're here? Now that there are millions of people here. Oh, let's see his position.
Into law. Today, Governor Tim Walz signed the Driver's License for All bill into law. This will allow all Minnesotans to get a driver's license regardless of immigration status, as long as they pass their written and practical tests.
We'll give you your ID that makes you look like an American. If you come in here, you just got to pass a stupid little test that like a 12-year-old could pass. Get behind the wheel, don't hit anything too hard, and we'll give you your American ID right there.
Advocates say this law will change lives for the better.
For almost exactly 20 years, Minnesota has put in place a piece of legislation that came in the fallout of the September 11th attacks.
See what he's getting at here? Yeah. We don't want people to be able to identify who's legal and who's illegal.
A piece of legislation that did nothing to improve public safety, but caused great personal harm, great community harm, and great economic harm to our state. That policy of denying driver's licenses to folks who were doing all kinds of jobs across Minnesota, of folks who were all kinds of people to someone else.
In other words, illegal aliens. That's what he's trying to say. I just don't like that phrase.
Sister, brother, husband, wife, mother.
Let's give them this beautiful brushstroke when we're referring to illegal aliens.
Their father, grandmother, aunts, uncles, friends.
This is the perfect match for the failed border czar. This is it. This is the perfect match right here.
People that are here in Minnesota. All of us acknowledge we need the federal government to be good partners and get true reform so the folks that want to
send us money. Send them over here. Send us money.
Call Minnesota home and want to be here. We welcome them, want them here, and want to make that process easier.
Oh, yeah. We want all of them in here. Everyone we don't know who they are. We just want them. We have no idea who they are. We just want them. There you go. There you go. That's failed border czar Kamala Harris's new VP. You think he'll be better at it? You think he'll be better at it? When your policies suck, double down. But that's not the only type of refuge state he wants. He wants the Minnesota to be. No. It's not simply an illegal alien refuge state. No, don't why be silly? Don't be silly. That's not the only type of refuge. No, of course not. because you're talking about here Tim Walz, who's basically the most progressive white man you've ever come across. Oh, what's this? What's this? Oh, yeah. That's him coming in right there with the Minnesota House passing bill to establish Minnesota as a trans refuge state. There we go. Establishing Minnesota as a trans refuge state. So we're going to be a refuge state for the illegal aliens, for the trans. Is another vote and gubernatorial signature away from becoming law. Wonder where that goes. A bill to prevent out-of-state laws from interfering in the practice of gender-affirming health care. So out-of-state laws, if they're laws that are trying to protect children in other states, Minnesota is here to help you violate those laws. Minnesota is here to help you break the law in another state. Just come here and we'll tell you, we'll extend our ever-loving arms and throw them all over, and then use those ever-loving hands and those arms to rip off your kid's genitalia. There you go. Welcome to the great state of Minnesota. It was clear from the debates outside the passions on both sides of the issue ran high as it was accompanied by vocal protests both for and against the measure. Let's hear from the House Republicans on this, because I'll just give you the sponsor of the beer here of the bill here. We'll give this individual their moment. We'll give them their moment.
I represent District 60. Call this to order. Calling this to order. Thank you.
Let's do this bigger.
My name is Lee Finke. My pronouns are she, her.
Of course they
I
are.
represent District 66A.
They weren't your born pronouns.
Today is a historic moment at the Minnesota legislature.
Welcome to Can America. This is what this is. It's Can America. Right there.
As a trans woman and the first trans representative at the legislature, as a member of the Queer Caucus, many of whom are standing here with us today,
Obviously,
we have a responsibility to create more space for our community to live their fullest, authentic lives.
And we can't do that if children are going to stay straight.
Without fear of violence, rejection, abuse, or political attack.
Okay, Groomer, that's enough out of you. So let's hear the House Republicans and why they had an issue with this.
On the floor, a bill that puts kids at risk and undermines parental rights. There's several concerning parts to this bill that we're going to be hearing. Parts of this Democrat transgender healthcare sanctuary state bill that we're going to be hearing. I'm going to let a couple of my colleagues get into some of the specifics, but I want to just highlight how misguided this truly is. And one thing is clear: the Democrat priorities are completely at odds with Minnesotans' priorities. Democrats are going to tell you that this is what Minnesota voted for, but it is not. The vast majority of parents in Minnesota do not put these issues as a top concern for their children. Focusing on school safety, focusing on our kids' education, focusing on safety within our community, that's what helps all students and all kids in Minnesota. Today is actually about protecting our children. And
Well, Minnesota wants to take those children away from you. If you want to protect your kids, Minnesota wants to take your kids from you, as other members, other House Republicans from the state legislature of Minnesota are about to explain to you.
Good afternoon. As Leader Damos said, that today House Republicans are taking a stand to protect Minnesota's kids. House File 146 undermines parental rights and, most concerningly, has zero guardrails to protect our kids. As a Republican lead on the Judiciary Committee, I've been working with our team on this issue, and we have identified numerous concerns with the bill. The bill makes Minnesota a sanctuary state for so-called gender-affirming care, while simultaneously infringing on the fundamental right of parenting. It allows children, regardless of age, to seek and receive radical medical treatments.
3-year-olds, 5-year-olds, go ahead.
That can cause sterilization, bone loss, loss of sexual function, and interference with brain development, all without their parents' guidance and love. Our own Mayo Clinic and the NIH have stated the risks involved with hormone treatments, especially pre-puberty. These treatments can be dangerous and permanent. This bill denies that science.
In case you're wondering, in Europe, in several countries where they used to allow this sort of stuff, they realized this stuff kind of seems to be much more permanent than people realized. And when we say blockers, it basically means destroyers. Instead of it being puberty, blocking, like temporarily in the way, it's decimating. That's what Europe has discovered. But Minnesota is just ahead of the curve here.
This bill undermines parental rights. The Supreme Court of the United States has declared that in the 14th Amendment of the Constitution, that it protects the rights of the fundamental right of parents to direct the care, upbringing, and education of their children.
Not anymore.
This bill would also allow a child predator or other person to lure a child into getting gender-affirming care.
That's right. Go ahead. Go ahead. Have a field day. All the kids in Minnesota. You're open. It's open season.
The bill says no criminal or civil penalty can be brought against a person, whoever that might be, for allowing or providing gender-affirming care. No parent needed.
That's right. Strangers go approach children in Minnesota and just talk to them about how they feel about their bodies.
We used to protect our kids in the state of Minnesota. Further, this bill allows for an initial custody jurisdiction hearing to determine custody of a child in this state just by virtue of them being in the state of Minnesota for the purpose of obtaining gender-affirming care.
Oh, yeah, that's right. Some 12-year-old runaway manages to make it into Minnesota. Go for it. Go for it. You need blockers? You need blockers? I got blockers for you. I got all the blockers you want to be able to change your voice? Oh, I got one of those too. I got all that here. I'm going to just juice you full on up. We'll juice you. We'll juice you. Don't worry, you're not in the other state anymore. You're in the great state of Minnesota. Tim Walz country.
It allows for the temporary emergency jurisdiction of one of the determining factors to be whether the child has been unable to obtain gender-affirming care.
Oh, you're having a custody battle because because your spouse is some monster who wants to Frankenstein your kid. Guess what? The one who wants to play Dr. Frankenstein wins. There you go. There you go. You had the audacity to try and make sure that your son stays a boy. You're obviously a terrible parent. Terrible parent, Minnesota says. You can't touch that. You can't spend 5 minutes with that kid anymore. We're gonna give him over to we gotta make sure that your son over there is gonna never see his voice change.
This means if a parent believes this treatment is not best for their child, a court can have an emergency hearing to remove the child. These parents would be on the same category as someone who has neglected or abused a child. I would like to turn it over to a member of our Judiciary Committee, Representative Harry Niska, for some legal comments.
Thank you, Representative Scott. My name is Harry Niska. I'm an attorney. I'm a member of the House Judiciary Committee, and I'm honored to represent District 31A in Anoka County. As Representative Scott indicated, there are a lot of concerning legal aspects of this bill. In particular, there's a looming significant constitutional problem in this bill. This bill is a direct assault on the full faith and credit clause of our U.S. Constitution, which is the provision that says we as the state of Minnesota or any other state is going to honor the legal judgments that are entered in every state in the nation.
And this is an interesting question because the full faith and credit clause of the Constitution says that you need to respect the laws in other state. And this is clearly Minnesota trying to subvert that. Now, does this mean that this law is going to be deemed unconstitutional by the Supreme Court? No. The reason it may not be deemed unconstitutional by the Supreme Court is they may say that you're not subverting it because those states are only making it illegal to do it in their four corners. So once they're outside the four corners, it's not considered. You're still, they're not obliged to follow that state laws. So you're not helping them break the law in that state because that state only says don't do it on our territory. So I don't think that this legal argument will ultimately prevail, to be frank with you. I like the creativity here by this gentleman. I do, Harry. I like it. I just don't know that it's going to work for you. I wish it would, but legally, it's not a power. It doesn't sound to me like a powerful argument.
This bill directly contradicts that and tries to violate that by saying that certain custody orders are not going to be honored in the state of Minnesota. The late Justice Ruth Bader Ginsburg.
Now, maybe with respect to custody and things of that nature, maybe that would change things. I don't know. I'd have to look at the wording of the bill. And speaking of which, I guess I can pull it. If you're wondering, what the hell happened to that bill? Did it ever become law? Oh yeah, of course it became law. It was passed by the Senate a month later, and there you go. What to know? A law signed by Governor Tim Walz made Minnesota a legal sanctuary for children seeking gender-affirming health care. So it's a refuge for the illegal aliens. And here's the great thing about Minnesota. It's the one state where you can actually make sure that we're going to have a complete influx of illegal aliens, people we have no idea whether they're, genuinely good people or complete monsters. And then we're also going to have an influx of children who are very confused about their bodies, and that it's completely and totally legal to go over for a perfect stranger to walk up to them and talk to them whatever they want to about their bodies. This is the great state of Minnesota that Tim Walz has put together for you. He's creating like the perfect storm here, the perfect storm for child abuse in the state of Minnesota. We're going to have as many illegal aliens come up here, as many people that we have no idea who they are. We're going to give them driver's licenses to help them pass as being actually American citizens, because not at all, because we're hoping that they'll find some way to vote in a federal election. And we're also going to say to the monsters that are coming across the border, hey, don't worry. We're going to give you a steady inflow of kids who are really confused about their bodies and make it perfectly legal for you total strangers that we have no idea who you are to walk on up to them and talk to them about their bodies. That is Tim Walz. That's Tim Walz. That's the state of Minnesota. That's what he wants. That's the vision he has for our country. Precisely. Your body, my choice. Yep. Let me get a couple of comments here. No one with presidential ambition would link up with Kamala. VP would be the last political position. Walz was the only sock puppet to say yes. I think Shapiro really wanted it. That's why he was scrubbing his social media. I think he really wanted it. I think he really, really wanted it. Viola says, can you please? I didn't do that. I was so busy. This feels as if there's like a lot to do. I'm opening it right now. I apologize to you, Viola. Thank you so much for calling that to my attention. Digger's Playground is officially open for business. Not for illegal aliens or kids who are seeking their attention. Make crimes illegal again. Amen. Amen. What would you do to see DNC internal polling numbers that cause them to basically give up this election cycle? The sad part is it will still be close. I agree with you. The sad part is it probably still will be close. Probably. But that's only because I think they're going to do everything they can to fortify the election, fortify it. How isn't this written test working for you when most immigrants don't read? Do you have it on Swahili? I'm sure they have it in Spanish. I'm sure they have it they offer it in a multitude of languages. I have little doubt that they offer it to anyone. And they'll probably get you an interpreter if you can't speak the language that it's written in. So there you go. I'm not done yet. I'm not done with this guy yet. Because if you wanted to know, like, you might have had other thoughts, like, okay, so we know he's pretty bad when it comes to protecting our border. So he wants to join up with the failed border czar. That's not good. Oh, sorry, I missed this. These blockers were originally used. Yes, it was. That's true. The worst of the groomers, the maps, when they were caught back in the day when they were actually really punished, not slapped on the wrist, or somewhere else that they would appreciate, that they used to give them blockers. Now we give them like candy. What else can I tell you about Tim Walz? What else do you want to know about Tim Walz? Do you think well, you might be saying to yourself, is he pro-life or pro-choice? Minnesota governor signs broad abortion right bill into law. Surprise, surprise. Here you go. Crazy progressive basically says you can get an abortion while that kid is on the way out of the womb. Governor Tim Walz enshrined the right to abortion and other reproductive health care into Minnesota statutes Tuesday. This was back in January of 2023. Signing a bill meant to ensure that the state's existing protections remain in place no matter who sits on future courts. Democratic leaders took advantage of their new control of both houses of the legislature to rush the bill through in the first month of the 2023 legislative session. They credit the backlash against the Supreme Court decision last summer to reverse Roe v. Wade and give it to the states. And they're like, oh, dang, we're going to lock this thing down now. Abortion rights were already protected under a 1995 Minnesota Supreme Court decision known as Doe v. Gomez, which held that the state constitution protects abortion rights. And a district court judge last summer declared unconstitutional several restrictions that previous legislatures had put in place, including a 24-hour waiting period and a parental notification requirements for minors. Why would we want parents to know anything about what these kids are doing? Let the kids do whatever they want. Opponents decried the bill as extreme, saying that it and other fast-track legislation will leave Minnesota with essentially no restrictions on abortion at any stage of pregnancy. Leaders of the Senate and House GOP minorities, Senator Mark Johnson of East Grand Forks and Representative Lisa DeMuth of Cold Spring urged Walz in a letter Monday to veto the bill. Yeah, that's not going to happen. But the White House welcomed Walz's signature on the bill, knowing that Minnesota is the first state legislature to codify protections into law this year. Aren't they amazing? Aren't they amazing? We gotta kill every fetus we can possibly get our hands on. Kill every fetus. Well, at the very least, look, if someone who's so concerned about the interests of Minnesotans, that this is his primary thing, that he's a good person. He's going to make sure that he's looking out for Minnesotans. That's why he's doing this, because at heart he's actually a good person. Like, he would never, ever, ever allow the taxpayers' money to be frittered away under his watch, because he actually cares about protecting the interests of Minnesotans. Oh, what's this? Major failures by Minnesota's education department helped lead to the largest COVID fraud scheme in the nation. According to an audit, 70 people charged in the alleged $250 million COVID relief scheme. 5 of them were convicted last week in the first several related federal fraud. Oh, no. Major failures by Minnesota's education department. That's right, the ones under Governor Tim Walz allowed the rampant misuse of a federal program meant to feed children during the pandemic, according to a state audit report released Thursday. The Minnesota Department of Education did not properly oversee Feeding Our Future, the nonprofit at the center of an alleged $250 million COVID relief scheme that federal prosecutors say is the largest of its kind. Minnesota's Office of Legislative Auditors said in a 103-page report. The U.S. Attorney's Office for the District of Minnesota has charged 70 people in a massive fraud scheme involving Feeding Our Future. None of them are named Tim Walz, unfortunately. 18 have pleaded guilty, and 5 were convicted last week. The Education Department oversees federal programs that reimburse participants, that provide free, nutritious meals to children in low-income families, but the kids don't need it because these fat cats need their money. Feeding Our Future was a program participant, but prosecutors said the nonprofit's employees recruited people and entities to take advantage of the program for their personal gain. Feeding Our Future went from receiving and dispersing about $3.4 million in federal funds in 2019 to nearly $200 million in 2021. There you go. Education Department did not hold the nonprofit accountable to program requirements, failed to act on warning signs, and was ill-prepared to respond to the issues it encountered with Feeding Our Future, the audit said. We found that the NDE's inadequate oversight of Feeding Our Future created opportunities for fraud. Oh, gosh, no. Timmy. This is your education department. Creating opportunities for fraud. What a great leader. What a great leader. Oh, what a phenomenal leader. So anyway, I think that gives you a little bit of a perspective on Tim Walz. We'll just go over a few of the other issues here. Doesn't really sound like he's the guy to fix our economy. I'm just saying. Doesn't sound like someone who can't oversee and make sure there's not rampant fraud going on there is the right guy to helm the repair, to remedy the situations that are ailing our economy. I don't know. But maybe Kamala's the one who should really fix Bidenomics. She's got that bull by the horns. She got it by the horns. Did he really? I did not see that. I recall during 2020 that there were 5 governors, all of whom were Democrats, who passed legislation saying that during the pandemic, it was a requirement that adult care facilities must accept patients who are returning back from a hospital stay because they were infected, even if they are still showing symptoms. And that was the genesis of the spread to the demographic which was most susceptible to mortality from that particular pandemic. Those 5 governors, all Democrats, were Governor Newsom from California, Governor Wicked Witch Whitmer from Michigan, Governor Tom Wolf, the one who's standing there in front of Josh Shapiro when Josh Shapiro was his attorney general, my governor, Phil Murphy, and Governor Andrew Cuomo, who was left in disgrace not for murdering tens of thousands of people, tens of thousands of grandmas for no benefit at all to anyone, unless I guess you were betting money on Trump losing the election, in which case you might say that they were doing it intentionally. I wouldn't go that far. I would not go that far to say that they intentionally wanted people. And I mean this seriously. I would not say I've thought about whether I want to go on record as saying I think that they did it intentionally. I didn't want the people. Do I, in my heart of hearts, think it's very possible that was a motivating factor? 100%. Very possible. Will I say that I feel that the reason they did this was because they were desperate to get Trump out of office, and that was the primary motivation? I can't say that. But I don't recall Tim Walz being one to do that. But it could be that the regulation I was looking at specifically related to getting them out of hospitals into nursing homes. He might have done something else, which is not from hospital to nursing homes, but it could be from just regular COVID patients. Now I'm very curious about that, Spuds. Manischewitz Flavor Aid official drink of the following. No, God, ew. Oh, okay. I want to clarify something here. Okay, I want to clarify. Manischewitz is Pischwasser. Okay, it's worse than Pischwasser. This is not something that is potable. It is not something that any human should ever be compelled to drink. I think that one of the ways that we should punish these groomers in Minnesota who are flooding there to hang out with whether they're illegal aliens or legal Americans. But all those folks there, we should give them all the puberty blockers that they need, and we should inject them and force them to drink Manischewitz. It is terrible, terrible, terrible. It's almost Eighth Amendment kind of violation type of thing, Manischewitz. There's a lot of better wines out there. A lot. I can give you a list of good kosher wines. You get yourself a Bartonura. That's going to be a good wine. You get yourself Joyvin. It's pretty cheap. Relatively cheap. It's going to be a good wine. Well, it's going to be good wine. Don't touch the Manischewitz. No. No. I say no. Let me check out here and see, make sure I didn't miss anything. I did. Denise Sand, Andrew Bailey won his primary for Missouri AG. I didn't think that was really going to be in doubt. I do think it's time for me to start heading over to checking out elections. And Missouri was the first state I was going to start. In fact, let's do that now. Let me just double check, make sure that I didn't miss out on anything happening here. Okay, we're good. I'm checking in on you diggers. I see fans. I see Wellesley. I'm checking in. I see Viola. Okay, Divine. You guys all happy there? Okay. Let's see what's happening in the world of elections. All right. We'll start in Missouri. Missouri primary election results. 86% of the votes in Democratic Party. Lucas Kuntz beating out Carla May. I don't know anything about this. They're running again. This is the primaries for Missouri. But this is going to, so I guess Kuntz. I don't know how you pronounce that. I'm sure I'm not the first one to recognize his name there. Is not a difficult one to mock. So, and this does look like it's going to be Hawley's opponent. Hopefully Hawley will decimate him. Hawley is awesome. He's one of the best people in Congress altogether. I'm a big fan of Hawley. For governor, you got Crystal Quaid, the Democrats, versus Mike Kehoe, the incumbent. And Lieutenant Governor Richard Brown versus David Wazinger. I don't know anything about him. Attorney General Andrew Bailey, 63% of the vote. This guy, as I mentioned the other day, is phenomenal. Attorney General. Huge fan of Andrew Bailey. I hope he dominates that election in November. U.S. House, and this is what has everyone very excited. Uh-oh. Oh, gosh. Goodbye, Cori Bush. Na 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 na. Hey, goodbye. Na 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 na. Hey. Cori Bush. The stunt woman Cori Bush. I know what it's like to wonder if I'm going to get that eviction notice. Oh, goodbye, Cori Bush. Goodbye, Cori. It's been nice. Hope you find your paradise. That is good. That is nice. Cori Bush is gone. Goodbye. Goodbye, Cori. Goodbye, Cori. So that's one member of the squad who's going to have to hit the road, Jack. Don't you come back no more. Hit the road, Jack. Don't you come back no more. What you say? Andrew Jones, who I think has no chance of beating out. We're going to see Wesley Bell, what Wesley Bell is all about. But Cori Bush was just this self-promotional, self-important. It's so good that she got knocked out. It's so good because she represents everything wrong with 21st century politicians, in the sense of it's like she's like your classic millennial type of self-involved, self-important. Everyone listen to me because I'm a friggin' member of the House. Nothing remotely positive is it's difficult in good conscience to say anything positive about her as a politician. Terrible woman. So very, very pleased. I don't know anything about Wesley Bell. I don't even know I literally don't know if Wesley Bell is a dude or a dudette. I have no idea. But what I do know is, the one thing I know about Wesley Bell is it's not Cori Bush. That's what I know about. That's what I can say about Wesley Bell. It's not Cori Bush. So we're done with you, Cori. We're done with you and your stupid little stunts, staying out on the front steps of the Capitol and making your stupid little speeches about how people are coming after you, because now no one gives a damn about you anymore. Goodbye, Cori. That is a phenomenal outcome from this to tonight's election. All right. So that is in Michigan. Sorry, it's Michigan. That's in Missouri. I believe she's in St. Louis, right? It is St. Louis. Yeah, in St. Louis. That's Cori Bush. 41,000 votes. Oh, thank you. Thank God. So glad she's out. All right. Okay, so let's look around. We're gonna look around and see any other names we recognize here. Wait a second. Walz created a snitch line to anonymously rat out your neighbors during Minnesota lockdown. Yeah, because he's a Democrat. Democrats are basically fascists. One man's socialism is another man's neighborliness. Yep. 15-year-old me votes for Mad Dog 2020. I don't know what that means. Who's Mad Dog? Mad Dog I know is the one from Mike and the Mad Dog. I'm not sure who that is. All right, let's go over to Kansas. U.S. House, Kansas primary elections. So Buskirk versus Mann. These seem like all the incumbents. I don't know what's the second Democrat. I'm not sure what's going on there. Not much turnover that we're seeing in Kansas in the state legislature. State Board of Education. Anything else? Can you give me anything else? Is that it? Yeah. Not seeing much happening in Kansas. Michigan. Democratic primary for U.S. Senate. Alyssa Slotkin is beating out Hill Harper, or is beating Hill Harper. What do we know about Alyssa Slotkin? I'm going to find out about Alyssa Slotkin. Mike Rogers is not someone I'm a huge fan of. He's the incumbent Republican in the Senate. And I'm not a huge fan of Mike Rogers. So I'm not really thrilled with this result, but I'm not surprised. I don't think he was ever going to be really challenged. And 80%, 34% is, there's only 34% of the votes are in, but this is obviously over. This is pretty much over also. 39% of the votes in the Republican family. All right, so U.S. House. Again, all the incumbents seem to win here. State legislature, with more of the incumbents winning. Same old in Michigan. Washington primary election results. 57% of votes in Maria Cantwell versus Raul Garcia. So this is an open primary. I'm a little confused. U.S. Senate open primary. Maria Cantwell versus incumbent versus Raul Garcia. Yeah, I'm a little confused. It's the same. Why would you have? Why are they making this look like Democrats and Republicans? Okay. Nurse Weed says Zoom on Doug Mackey case. Then still announces he's donating $150K to Kamala Harris because I wish I was black. Every white Jewish guy wishes he was black, and other dumb reasons. Okay, let me pull this up. What she's talking about here. I'll come back to the election results in a moment as we see those continue to come in. This is what she's referring to. I actually have it here. Let me share this with you. Yeah, Charlie Kirk shared this. There we go.
I just want to let you know I'm going to match your $150,000 donation. Everybody's got to get out and vote and donate. And she's also a historic candidate. You know, it's going to be the first woman president.
Really, really, thank you for sharing your insight.
And that's incredibly exciting. And
why? Why is that exciting? Why is that exciting? In what way is that a positive thing? Did the first woman governor, whoever that was, which no one knows who that was, but the first female governor, did that change America in some way that's memorable, positive? Did that do anything? Did having her as the first woman vice president, was that a positive? Was that a good thing? Having her as the first Black, Indian, white female vice president. And she broke that glass ceiling. How many lives were improved by that result? Share with us. Tell us.
You know, she's Indian, she's Black, she's everything.
She's everything.
Be more than one thing. It's incredible. You know, I'm Jewish and Irish. I wish I was Black. Every white Jewish guy wishes he was Black.
We're just talking about Willis.
I wish I was Black. Every white Jewish guy wishes he was Black.
No. No. No, not every white Jewish guy is self-hating Jew. See, that's every white Jewish guy. I don't know. I know a whole bunch. And it's not anything against being black any more than being Latino or being anything else other than being a white Jewish guy. Yeah, people who are uncomfortable in their own skin, people who are freaking JINOs. They're like, oh my God, if only I was black. Oh, if only I was black, I would have more. I would have a better vertical jump. I'd be so cool. I would be like so much funnier. I'd be so much more talented. They could have cut off bigger. What are you talking about? Why can't people just be happy with who they are? Whatever you are, just embrace it. That's how you're actually really happy. What a miserable soul this individual is. So miserable. I look at him and I see the tears of a clown. I hear Smokey Robinson, just tears of a clown right here. Tears of a clown. Oh yeah, I'm a Jew. It's terrible. I don't know. What am I going to do? It's not fair. With too much white skin. I wish I was darker and more relative, and then I would be able to like hang out and come up with all sorts of cool phrases, and everyone would like me, and I would be oppressed, and I'd be able to tell everyone how oppressed I am. I just wish that I had some more way of being like a little bit blacker. Instead, I'm stuck with this stupid Jewish DNA that's stuck inside of me. Oh my God, it's so terrible. Oh, it's a calamity. Oh, it's awful. Whining loser. So no, if you're wondering, is that really true? Is that really true that every Jewish white guy wishes he was black? Answer is And like I said, if you're black, awesome. You should embrace that. If you're Asian, awesome. You should embrace that. If you're white, awesome. You should embrace that. If you're Latino, Latinx, whatever other made-up term they are, awesome. Be you. Be happy in who you are. If you're happy with what you are as a person, society at large, including those of us who are of a different race or nationality, will also end up being happier. See, that's how this whole thing works. Instead of sitting there with penis envy or skin envy or money envy or intellect envy or popularity envy, whatever stupid envy you have, stop wishing you were something else and embrace what you are. But you can't do that if you're a JINO. You can't do that. Quite the contrary. The only reason you use your Jewishness is to say stupid, stupid, stupid things like every white Jewish person wishes that there was some other race, whether it's black or any other race. Jackass. What an idiot. You don't speak for me. You don't speak for Jews. You don't speak for anyone sitting here saying what Jews think. What the hell do you know?
I wish I was black. Every white Jewish guy wishes he was black. You know, it's just get out there and vote and donate and like take advantage. This is such an important time right now, and this wave of energy that's happening, we got to keep going with it. So
literally has it's I don't know if it's because like he was in that movie with De Niro that he ended up becoming the same weird TDS hater as De Niro. What was that stupid movie? The Schmucks or whatever they were. Yeah.
please do everything you can. I just want to let you know I'm going to match your.
Jerry Stiller's rotting in his grave. Jerry Stiller is rotting in his grave. Rotting in horror at what Ben became. Embarrassment. Joe Bush is a clown, easy to mock. Bell is a Soros BLM prosecutor. He'll be less ostentatious, much more effective for the left. Maybe. You could be right. I don't know. Still, getting rid of Bush. It's a good thing to celebrate. Heard wanted DA nursing homes for migrant housing. Why does that not sound surprising? That's what Tim Walz is all about. Why does that not sound remotely surprising? This is for your transition from when you admit you want. That's great. Oh, I got the heat on. That's not good. I need to cool. Sorry. What? Why are you not on? Hopefully that'll work. All right. Wilhelm Goldbert sent me a rant. Says, "Hey Joe, it's Celulite podcasts from over on YouTube. Can I get a promo and a shout out? I don't know anything about Celulite podcasts. I don't know nothing about it, but I'm going to check it out right now. We're just going to do a quick check-sees. We'll do a quick check-sees. Celulite podcasts.
Our Father, who art in heaven, hallowed be thy name. Thy kingdom come, thy will be done, on earth as it is in heaven.
There you go.
Give us this day our daily bread, and forgive us our debts, as we forgive our debtors."
That's the landing video. His videos seem to be relatively longer podcasts. Let's see what he put up here as his revised announcement. But this is Celulite, spelled like this up here. If you want to check out Celulite podcast, let's see what he's got here.
I wouldn't give a fuck if Jenny was fucking Antonio. I don't give a fuck what Jenny was up to.
All right, there's definitely
That's y'all niggas' problem. That's right. That's right. This nigga has no shame, and I don't. I don't.
Flashback.
Bitch, and after I beat you, I'm gonna fuck you on your ass because you a bitch ass nigga.
All right.
That's what we do to you.
Yeah.
All right. All right. Well, there you go. That is Celulite Podcasts. So check him out. Check him out. There you go. Apparently, Sammy did. He had it all. Sammy had it all. Man, that guy had it all. Jewish and black. Man, that dude had it all. Freaking, he had it all figured out. Rod Carew also. Rod Carew also. Let's check out the New York primary elections. Let's check those out as we work our way around. Huh. What was... We scroll on down to the 16th district. Oh no. Oh no. Oh no. Oh no. Oh no. Another member of the squad. The squad is thinning. The squad is thinning. Are you going to tell me? Are you going to tell me something terrible? Bad news about George Latimer also? I don't like bad news. No one wants bad news. Don't give me bad news. Let me go back. All right. They are calling Alyssa Slotkin the winner in Michigan. I do want to look into her and see just how how progressive she is. So I have a bad feeling Michigan is a state that has been taken over by the progressive. So let's see what her platform is. I'm going to see how bad this could potentially get, because I have terrible fears about Michigan. I don't like the way they do their elections in Michigan. Let's see what we got here. This is Alyssa Slotkin, in case you're wondering. Priorities. Alyssa believes our government works best when we have two healthy parties that debate the big issues facing Americans. You know, no politician believes that. She also tried to work across the issues like bringing critical supply chains back home. Okay. Keeping our communities and kids safe. Physical safety, cybersecurity. This is going to be about guns, because she's a lefty, and that means no one should own guns except for criminals and the government. After the new November 20 Oxford listeners a bill requiring safe storage of firearms, and that was a debacle, which she was undoubtedly behind as far as having those charges brought against Ethan Crumbley's parents. They're trying to paint her as a moderate, that she's okay with people owning guns because she's held guns in her life. I don't want to hear about her personal issues. Everyone's got personal issues. There's no crying here. What's your opportunity agenda? Congresswoman Slotkin served on President Obama's national security team in the White House, where she briefed the president on critical national security issues in the Oval Office and the Situation Room. Proudly supporting George Floyd Justice and Policing Act, meaning all cops are bad. Protecting Obamacare and lowering healthcare costs, of course, because that abomination should never, ever be gotten rid of. Taking on drug companies to lower costs, including capping insulin at $35 per month for seniors. What about for all people? Why just seniors? What about young folks? Young folks need insulin also. Passing law to make microchips in the U.S. and okay, that I can be down with. Doing funds for local highway and bridge repairs. Okay. Expanding voter rights. And the co-sponsor the John Lewis Voting Rights, which is basically let us cheat in elections, which is what the John Lewis Voting Rights Act was all about. Let us cheat in elections and make sure that we never know who's voting while we bring in here millions of undocumented illegal aliens. I will tell you this, as Democrats go, she's not as woke as some of the others. She seems much more like your standard uniparty rather than a potential progressive. That's what I'm seeing so far. But this is my first look-see at her. She's coming across to me more like your classic Democrat uniparty person. Look, she's a Democrat. She's going to be espousing values that's going to make your skin crawl because she's a Democrat. But she doesn't seem like, from what I'm seeing, I'm not seeing the little signs of someone who's a crazy progressive. Not seeing that. That's good. See DMs from Tim Walz signing of a law including maps being a sexual orientation? Really? This is what Debbie shared with me via DM. Tim Walz signed a bill into law through which removed the pedophile exclusion that accepted P's from the civil rights protections that are afforded to those protected identities or classifications that fall under the definition of an orientation. The most disturbing part of the bill is that it went through multiple revisions, and in every single revision, they kept the map exclusion crossed out. Link to the final changes of the bill over here. Let's see what we got. This is the part here. Orientation means having been perceived as having an emotional, physical, or sexual attachment to another person without regard to the sex of that person, or having been perceived as having an orientation for such attachment, or having or being perceived as having. It's like it's like no one knows the hell you're talking about, and that's partly because that's how laws invariably are written, and partly because they're trying to hide what they're saying. Orientation does not include a physical or attachment to children by an adult to whom someone is or is perceived as being emotionally, physically, or attracted to. So wait, when I'm reading this, I'm reading this differently than you're implying. I'm reading this as they're taking out orientation, the maps being an orientation. Maybe I'm reading this wrong. I'm only seeing the link that you sent me, and I clicked it, and this is where I'm at. So they say, when we're classing what are different orientations, one thing it does not include is a physical or sexual attachment to children by an adult. So to me, I don't want to mislead anyone in a rush to try and condemn terrible people. And Tim Walz certainly qualifies as a terrible person. I'm simply saying when I read this particular part here, this does not seem to have, it seems to make maps different from other orientations. You have all these people with different orientations, that they're attracted to butterflies or to horses or to people of the same gender who went through trans and all this other, whatever your orientation is, we're going to call that an orientation. You know what we're not going to call orientation? Maps. That's how I read this paragraph. That's what they cross out here. At least what they crossed out here. They cross this out and they say, so wait, so this was designed to take maps. Let me just read through this and understand this better. So they're crossing out the maps part here, saying we're not including maps. And then they say, what does it mean? It means someone to whom someone is perceived as being emotionally, physical, or sexually attracted to based on sexual, maybe attracted. Oh my God. I see what you're saying. Now I understand. You are correct. When they were putting in orientation, they tried saying maps is not an orientation. That's the part they crossed out to imply maps is an orientation. You are correct. I was wrong. I was reading through a second time because I was like looking through the cross out. But you're right. They are saying that maps is an orientation. This guy's a friggin' monster. This guy is a friggin' monster. Wow. You're right. I was wrong. My first read of this was wrong. Debbie is right. They drafted this specifically saying, no. You don't tell me that maps are not an orientation. That is an orientation. And obviously, when they refer to these orientations, they're going to be giving protections to these orientations. Wow. Debbie is correct. What a friggin' monster. You son of a... Wow. Thank you for sharing that with me. You are right. I was wrong. Ben thinks becomes black, his PP will stop being so tiny. P.S. Which was like dealing with the upcoming attacks in Iran. God willing. God will watch over Israel. Don't know. Keep reading Walz Sunday Amendment, adding the... Yeah, you're right. You were right. I was wrong. You were right. I was wrong. Joe, won't Shapiro get more votes than the Dems staying in Pennsylvania than if he was a VP? See, this is the thing. I didn't get into why. I told you how terrible Walz was. I didn't really get into why it was such a terrible pick for Kamala. Part of the reason is she's doubling down on policies that America hates. I mean, America hates. I mean, this basically, I mean, just throw this up here, how he's protecting maps, how he bent over backwards to protect maps. Show how he's a refuge state for the illegal aliens and for basically the Hansel and Gretel effect of taking children from other states just so we can Frankenstein them here in the great land of 10,000 lakes. Yeah. So that's what he wants for America. That's what he wants for America. Transfer everyone, because that's what they need. That's what everyone needs. And I gotta tell you something. Personally, if someone's an adult and they decide they want to do whatever they want to do to their own adult selves, all right. I think you're destroying your own life, but that's self-harm. And a lot of people make ridiculously disastrous personal decisions. So I'm okay with that. I look at those people more with pity than I do with any other feeling. It's only when it crosses into we need your children. Those are the people who are outright monsters. Outright monsters. And I understand, I'll tell you right now, Shapiro definitely was kept out because he was part of the Jews. And right now, the Jews are very unpopular with a lot of the young Democratic voters. Very unpopular because of the whole strength of the Free Palestine movement. So she was like, I need to show I can't carry Shapiro and his Jewishness. So I think it's pretty funny that he was going to be the winner of the race, but then it turned out that the race was restricted. I want to tweet that out. And then we'll say that. And I don't think he has nearly the same baggage that Tim Walz has with respect to being such a ridiculous progressive. Abortion to 9.5 months, totally fine. Totally fine. I saw a clip, by the way, just because I want you all to appreciate that. I don't want to mislead you with information. So I'm going to share something with you that I don't know if this is true or not. It was sent to me. Maybe people know that this is true or not. But I saw a whole takedown of Tim Walz that came out this morning and says that they have the most radical abortion laws in the country, zero limits. Every year, 5 to 6 babies are born alive and then murdered legally under laws that Walz supports. Now, I don't reckon that's what that every year 5 to 6 babies are born alive and then murdered legally under laws that Tim Walz supports. This is what was sent to me here in this little. You can't see that. Can you see it? I don't know. Anyway, I don't know if you can see it. But sorry about that. So when I read that, in case you were part of a WhatsApp group that got that same thing, because I think that went around to millions of people probably today. If you were one of the recipients of that, so I do want to clarify a few things. Number one, I don't think that's 5 to 6 babies per year in Minnesota. I think that means nationally, because it says under laws you support, not in the state of Minnesota. The other thing I wanted to point out to you is I looked up the Minnesota statute on this particular issue. And I actually found a Minnesota statute that said as soon as a baby comes out of the womb alive, it's considered a full person with all the rights that attach thereto. So I don't want anyone to misstate anything about what Tim Walz has said or done. When you misstate, you don't end up harming the person you're charging. You end up harming yourself more. So I never want to misstate the reality of the situation. That being said, he is strongly in favor of allowing a woman to kill a fetus, no matter how, if it could be the size of a watermelon. Go ahead and decimate that thing. Go get him. Go get him. And to me, that's truly monstrous. Keep reading your Twitter thread. You're not reading the amendment that was signed. What do you want? I got what you were. This is what she wants me to show. Provisions of this chapter should be construed liberally. It's specifically designed to help incorporate. We're not going to overtly say maps, but we want the court to know what we mean. That's essentially what it is. Terrible human being. Look up Tim Walz DUI arrests. I heard also about his military service that apparently the military, people in the military hate him also. I know that he had a lengthy career in the military. Tim Walz passed DUI arrest for driving 96 miles per hour in a 55-mile zone. The zone comes back to haunt the VP pick. Kamala Harris, freshly minted VP Minnesota Governor Tim Walz, was once arrested for drunk driving after he was pulled over for driving more than 40 miles over the speed limit. Walz, 60, who was 31 at the time and working as a teacher in Alliance, Nebraska, was caught on police radars driving his silver Mazda 96 miles an hour in a 55 zone just before midnight on September 23rd, 1995. When a trooper approached his window, he detected a strong odor of alcoholic beverage emanating from the vehicle. After flunking a field sobriety test, he submitted to a breath test, which pegged his blood alcohol level at 0.128, well above the state's legal limit of 0.08. Walz was arrested, taken to Dawes County Jail, given a blood test, but those results could not be immediately confirmed. Following March, Walz pleaded the charges down to reckless driving, which required him to admit that he drove a vehicle in a manner as to indicate indifference or wanton disregard for the safety of persons or property. After accepting the plea agreement, Walz' lawyer, Russell Harford, attempted to explain that his client was speeding because he thought the trooper was somebody chasing. But how could he know? Because he was so drunk. This is a little bizarre, but Walz thought someone was chasing him. The officer didn't turn on his red lights, and somebody came up real fast behind him, and he didn't know what they were doing. Yeah. So he sped up trying to get away, fearing somebody was after him. Lo and behold, it was the state patrolman who was behind him. So the faster he went, the faster the state patrol officer went. He admitted. Ended up paying a $200 fine plus court costs. The principal talked about resigning. Scolded for driving under the influence. Scolded for putting people in public at risk of death. When the issue of DORS was raised during Walz's successful 2000 campaign for Congress in Minnesota, his campaign manager, Kerry Greeley, told Rochester, Minnesota newspaper that he wasn't drunk, and he was unable to understand the officer's command due to hearing loss he incurred from his time as an artilleryman in the Army National Guard. He couldn't understand what the officer was saying to him, Greeley alleged. She also claimed the judge threw out the DUI charges against Walz and chastised the officer for not realizing he was deaf. But there's nothing in the court records or transcript obtained by Alpha News to back up her assertion. They just flat out lied. Flat out lied. They will literally cover anything for Democrats. It's so sick. Shapiro kept counting until he got the outcome Dems wanted in 2020. This is not... 2 days before the election, he actually sent out a tweet saying it is impossible for Trump to win Pennsylvania. How the hell could he possibly know that? How could he possibly know that? Unless he knew that. How do you know that unless you know that? The shadiest state in the country. How does teacher get the funds and support to become a governor? Well, these are good questions. I don't know. You're asking if he's like Soros funded or something of that nature? Maybe. He's sufficiently progressive, that's for sure. Sorry, Joe. Those 5 born-alive kiddos are from Minnesota. No, the born-alive do not need to be cared for. It's up to the adopter and the womb holder. So I saw a statute. Now I'm gonna have to find it. Like while I was prepping for this show, I actually pulled up the statute and I was like, oh, okay. At least it's not as bad as I thought. I don't know if I kept that window open though. So let me take a quick check here. So a quick look through my windows. A quick look through Joe's windows. Nope. 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 What was this? Oh, this was the other thing on the National Guard that I forgot to cover about Tim Walz, where he basically failed to bring in the National Guard when the George Floyd riots were coming in and let the city burn. In fact, I want to share something with you on that. This incompetent leader. You could call it incompetence, or you can call it that he's actually intentionally self-destructive. Look at this. Let me see if I pull it up here. Yeah, I did. Bear with me a moment and check this out. Where do you think this is? Beirut? Is it Beirut? What is this? Is this Gaza? Is this Venezuela? Where are we? Where are we?
You're in relation to this?
Oh, yeah. That's Minneapolis after the George Floyd riots. There you go. Because he didn't want to send in the National Guard. He ultimately caved when he saw he had no choice. And he saw he had no choice at all. I'm trying to see if I can find that statute. Let me see if I can do this up here. This is the statute that I stumbled on earlier. Minnesota statute section, chapter 145, Section 145.423. An infant who's born alive shall be fully recognized as a human person and accorded immediate protection under the law. All reasonable measures consistent with good medical practice, including the compilation of appropriate medical records, shall be taken by the responsible medical personnel to care for the infant who's born alive. That's what I saw. To me, this is pretty clearly stating you can't kill them if they're born alive. Now, there's an exception. That's what I found when I was looking. I was trying to find out whether it was Minnesota that used, because someone super chatted saying, "Sorry, Joe, those 5 born alive kids are in Minnesota. No born alive do not need to be cared for." Gopher, explain to me this statute 145.423. I'm just trying to give factual information. This is what I'm seeing in the laws, Minnesota. John Solomon has a new poll, Trump ahead with the chosen people in New York. Really? Jews in New York? Really? Interesting. In Locals, there's an article on afterbirth. I'm in Locals now. Good time checking my Locals. It says the link is in Locals. I assume you mean in Locals chat. I'm going through the other stuff, and it's I see it now. Yeah. Minnesota legislature repeals protection for born alive infants, support for pregnant women. Wow. Abortion up to birth. Today, Tim Walz signed into law the Protect Reproductive Options, not babies, options, to enshrine in state statute a fundamental right to abortion without limits or safeguards. The bill passed the House. The PRO Act means a right to abort any baby for any reason at any time up to birth. It means the elective killing of a human being in utero is perfectly legal even in the 3rd trimester of pregnancy when the child can feel excruciating pain and could live outside the womb. It means that parents have no right to know when their teenage daughter has been taken to undergo an abortion. Governor Walz's absolutist abortion policy puts Minnesota in the company of just a small handful of countries around the world, including North Korea and China. It's extreme, inhumane, and harmful to women and children who deserve so much better. Only 30% of Minnesotans think abortion should always be legal. But what about they sought to downplay the reality and frequency of elective late abortions, even though evidence shows that most abortions at 20 weeks occur for elective reasons. This law doesn't allow late abortion for medical emergency or heart cases. It allows late abortion for any reason whatsoever as an open invitation to notorious late abortion practitioners to come to Minnesota, set up shop here. You don't even need to be a doctor to have a license or have a licensed facility in order to perform abortions. The lack of guardrails protect women and children is appalling. Additional abortion expanding bills have also been introduced to the Capitol. One bill would repeal numerous longstanding abortion-related laws, including a law protecting newborns who survive abortion. That means, to my reading, and I could be wrong, but my reading is that they cannot still. Born alive provision was repealed this year in 2024. I'm working forward here in time. Minnesota law used to guarantee life's care for infants who survive abortion. In 2023, though, the legislature and governor will repeal the requirement that reasonable measures consistent with good medical practice be taken to preserve the life and health of a born alive infant. This is from 2022. So here he's taking out the born alive as a result of abortion, just saying these infants who's born alive, we're not talking about abortion. I'm pulling up what you asked me to pull up here. Is this. What am I missing here? An infant? It used to say born alive as a result of abortion. Now it just says an infant who's born alive should be fully recognized. The change does seem to exclude someone born alive as a result. Care for the infant who's born alive. On the upside, Walz did get tampon machines put in an all-boys school bag. That's funny. That's funny. I just don't see the point to this. I don't see why you would take this dude. Like, why would you take him? Why? What is the upside of a Tim Walz? I will say he does seem to be an effective debater. But his record is pretty abysmal. It's pretty out of touch with mainstream America, I think. And I think that's what makes it to me, that's a boneheaded decision. Because at the end of the day, I don't think he can run from his crazy leftist agenda. He's had too long a time to basically decimate Minnesota and show how disastrous he would be if he's ever in charge. And whether it relates to illegal aliens, whether it relates to corruption that he sucks at ferreting out, whether it relates to abortion or transing children, one issue after another, this guy has a well-established record of being a crazy progressive. So it's just a monster. I'm not reading this the way you're reading this, Gopher. That it specifically allows you, unless you're going to say that the change in the statute, I don't know what I'm missing here. You can have Representative Kristen Knudsen, the pretty blonde behind the speaker of that Minnesota video, call you if you want to chat. Do it. Get her on here. Get her on here. Get her on here. Okay. Which is Minnesota born alive abortions. Let me read this again. Today, the Minnesota legislature approved an omnibus health bill that repeals a bipartisan measure protecting newborns who want to carry their babies to term. First, Governor Walz and DFL majorities enacted abortion after birth and policy. Now they have revoked a law that requires life-saving care for newborns and wiped out the positive alternatives program that supports pregnant women in difficult circumstances. I'm trying to see where this bill was passed. The omnibus bill is largely crafted behind closed doors without input from Republicans on the conference committee. The bill strips out Minnesota's existing requirement that reasonable measures be taken to preserve the life and health of born-alive infants, replacing the requirement for care. Oh. It's more comfort care. In support of repealing the protection for newborns, some lawmakers falsely claim that he repealed the language requiring inappropriate or futile attempts to save infants' lives. Instead, the repealed law simply required reasonable measures consistent with good medical practice. This is probably where we get to the 5 cases that people are talking about. There are 5 cases reported in 2021 alone. Now I'm very curious. I feel like I'm going down a whole rabbit hole. I'm going down a rabbit hole here. It does seem as if they say you don't have to worry about protecting the life of the baby, but now you have to just worry about that's why they say this part here to care. Instead of preserve the life and health of the baby, you have to care for the infant who's born alive, meaning give them, comfort them as you kill them. Wow. 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 They're embarrassed by what they're actually passing here. That's why they're trying to make it sound as if it's not what it actually is, which is enabling them to what Trump always says: kill me after birth, even after birth, let the baby die. What utter monsters! Utter monsters. Let me see if I can pull up that video where Tim Walz was basically ditching the military as soon as he learned he was going to Iraq. By the way, I should pull this up while I'm looking for this. If you could just do me a favor, just a quick favor, and check and make sure that you're still subbed up and like and subscribe. I've lost like 300 subs in the last 3 weeks. And that kind of thing gets annoying. I'm not going to kid you. It gets a little annoying. Let's pull up that chat.
The public needs to know how pathetic his leadership was as a National Guardsman.
On a 150-year-old farm in Brewster, Tom Behrens hopes his tell it like it is style will finally get the attention he believes it deserves in Minnesota's race for governor. In a way, he's back again to wage a public war of words against Tim Walz.
He abandoned us. You know, I mean, what the hell kind of leader does that? I mean, he just, as soon as the shots were fired in Iraq, he turned and ran the other way and hung his hat up and quit.
We'll get to Barron's new message for voters in a moment. But this all starts years earlier when Barron says Walz's misleading statements about his military service first led him to come forward in the fall of 2018. So you try to get this message out, but Minnesota's largest newspaper checks it out, says it's 100% true, but yet refuses to print.
When I hung the phone up, I said, what the hell is this, North Korea?
Back in 2005, a warning order went out to the 1st Battalion, 125th Field Artillery to mobilize for a mission to Iraq. At the time, Walz served as the unit's highest non-commissioned officer, but months later, Walz would retire from the Guard, avoid the deployment, and run for Congress. Tom Behrens was next in line for the position and was asked to take his place.
I was like, well, for Pete's sake, if this guy quit, if I say I'm not going to do it, I mean, what the hell kind of leadership is that? If a company would say that we're going to deploy to Iraq or somewhere and you're going to be gone for whatever amount of time, and then the foreman just says, no, I'm not going. I mean, what does that say to the 500 people that work in that factory?
Behrens would go on to serve in Iraq on a nearly 2-year deployment as a command sergeant major. All while Walz began using that title as a congressman. Behrens says he first contacted Walz with his concerns, sending these letters to Washington. They all went unanswered. But then we fast forward to the election in 2018 in Minnesota, and you try at that time to get people's attention with this story and also with what seems to be a very misleading statement that he continued to make about his
misleading.
It kind of just sat there. You know, when he was a congressman, he bragged that he was a command sergeant, retired command sergeant major. I'm the highest ranking person ever in the House, and all this lie that he was telling. The state of Minnesota came out after 2018, after this was exposed, and they said, well, he can say that he served as a command sergeant major, but he can't say he's a retired one because he's not.
And that's what he was saying.
And he was saying that, and there was lots of public, lots of cards coming in the mail, for him to be elected. They said right on there he's a retired command sergeant major, just tooting his own horn, just hanging on the coattails of people that actually are command sergeant majors that went through all the process and put all the time in.
A spokesperson for the Minnesota National Guard said Walz wasn't able to retire as a command sergeant major since he failed to complete coursework and requirements related to the rank. Verified documents show the Army corrected his service record. Walz was reduced in rank to an E8 Master Sergeant after retirement and his conditional promotion. Alpha News again asked Governor Walz if he's using the command sergeant major rank on his campaign website for political gain this year. A spokesperson said this has been in the news before and pointed us to a past story where Walz said, quote, normally this type of partisan political attack only comes from one who's never worn a uniform.
It's stolen valor is really what it is. I don't know of anybody else.
And now it's coming from his bunkmate.
What he's done. But we called it the truth about Tim Walz.
In 2018, Behrens gave the story the full court press.
We, retired command sergeant majors of the Minnesota National Guard, feel it is our duty and responsibility to bring forth the truth as we know it concerning his service record. I put together information on it and I sent it out to every single radio station and newspaper and TV station I could in the state. The bottom line in all of this is gut-wrenching and sad to explain. When the nation called, he quit.
Twin Cities TV stations and the Star Tribune were silent, even after Behrens says the newspaper checked it all out. The Star Tribune endorsed Walz in 2018 for governor. Between lockdowns, riots, unchecked crime, and a charred police precinct, Behrens felt he had no choice but again to come forward.
Allowing that to be burned down was just like having the Alamo get burned down. It's like, no, you defend that to the last man. If he would have went to Iraq, he'd still be hiding under his desk over there, because that's just, just the cowardice that I seen portrayed with him.
So how about when he also comes out and he calls you guys 19-year-old cooks?
I'd take any 19-year-old cook before I'd go to war with him. I don't know how he could even utter such a statement. I mean, it's just absolutely sad.
So this election year, it's all built up again to Behrens' new grain bin message.
He called Jacob Fry an abject failure. So I was like, that's what he is.
Walz is a traitor, also made a return.
And the last one I put together, he said it himself too, as well. If they don't like my job, they can vote me out. So I wrote, we got to vote him out. We need to vote him out.
Well, there you go. Thank you for sharing that. I appreciate that. Thank you very, very much. That was shared with me courtesy of Jared Birch. Good job. Good job digging that up. Go for. I texted her. She's usually still up. If she doesn't answer, I'm sure she'll be game tomorrow to talk all things Timmy Walz. Yeah, if you DM me, I can text you my number for her to reach out to me. So we can sort of try and see if that works out. Look at the face of evil, no rabbit hole. Yeah, but still, it took me a while to get there, but I did get to where they changed it from life-saving measures to care. Just care, not life-saving care. And the reason they have it that way is so that basically you can say, we gave care, we kept them warm, we just didn't give them any food. He had Turn in Your Neighbor program during COVID too. Someone else mentioned that also. Saw that up above. I think Kimmy mentioned that. Was it Kimmy? I don't know why I'm thinking Kimmy said that. Yeah. Walz created snitch lines and anonymously rally your neighbors in Minnesota lockdown. One man socializing. Yeah. What a terrible human being. God, awful. Thank you for weighing in. Terrible. Terrible. All right. But that's the thing. He could have gone with an astronaut. That's who Obama supposedly wanted Kamala to take. And she ended up going with this crazy progressive nut job. And frankly, he's a weird dude. He's a strange dude. He's bringing in illegal aliens, saying we shouldn't vet them. We should give them driver's licenses and make sure that knowing that they look as much like an American as possible. Bring them across the border here. We have no idea who they are. We'll also, you know what else we bring across the border? Kids who are confused about their bodies. And then we're going to make it a crime. And then we're going to say it's not at all a crime for any stranger to walk up to them and say that's totally legal to go talk to them about their bodies. So that's the perfect storm. Minnesota, Tim Walz turned Minnesota into the perfect storm for kids to basically be targeted for grooming. Minnesota, the perfect grooming state. That's a weird dude. That's a weird dude. See, is it audacity to call others weird? That's what he says. Others are weird. No, he's a weird dude. He literally turned Minnesota into a grooming state. And I think it's gonna. This is not something that the majority of Americans are okay with. Even the people on the left, they're not really that excited about this. So I don't think he's going to end up helping her. Quite the contrary. There are other people who definitely could have helped her considerably more, who would have been more dangerous. Maybe not Josh Shapiro, because the left is so crazy about and hating the Jews these days. But yeah, he certainly could have gone. She should have looked at Arizona a little bit more. Thankfully, she didn't. And should we be surprised? Should we be surprised that the woman who's most famous for the one job that she had, blowing it in ways that no one thought possible, as the borders are, that when she takes her next task of holding a VP Sweepstakes for who's going to be her running mate, then she botches that as well. Whatever she's going to touch, she's going to botch. So there you go. There you go. And that's our show for tonight. That's our show for tonight. I want to wish a fond farewell to Corey Bush. Adios, amiga. It is amigo, right? Is that right? Adios, muchachas. Go hit the road. You got your little eviction notice. And yeah, all in all, pretty good day. I will catch you all tomorrow. I got a busy day myself, dealing with certain car issues. Got to take care of getting stuff out in the mail to the Court of Appeals. I revised my letter. Do you guys want me to show you my revisions of the letter? Should I show you? I already filed it, but I have to send it out in the mail. Thank you. Thank you very much, Gopher Guy. I will try to reach out. Okay, so should I do a quick show on my letter? Because I started seeing the opposition, what the opposition was saying, and they want to try and say that this is going back to my Court of Appeals thing. I'm not going to explain the whole thing. You either know what I'm fighting for to ungag Trump or not, and that it's not just about Trump, but that it's actually about It's actually about making sure that criminal defendants in general are not going to be gagged the way Trump was, because I think they're going to use that as a precedent. So I'll show you the part that I basically added on today. I'll read that to you. Because what they basically tried saying is, well, it all got revised. This is all moot anyway. So the court should ignore this because it's not ripe anymore. You remember when I've talked to you about election law, someone who has helped me with my formatting, I want to express my gratitude to Adrian and to Professor Tom, who both came in and helped me out with my formatting, which was a disaster. And it was such a stupid little thing that I just wanted to fix, and Word was being impossible. But I'll share with you the letter. And the part I was having a problem with was this part here. Just getting that to come up on any page, but not have it on the first page, and also have a normal distance space between this and that. So it was like right up to the page 4, and I was just working the formatting was a nightmare, but they walked me through it, and I appreciate their help greatly. So we'll start with this part here where I was refuting what my adversaries have said, because they said it's not moot and it's not relevant anymore. You should reject it because it's moot, because he changed the order. It's not really in effect anymore. So I wrote was, despite modifications to the orders issued post-trial, the issues raised before the appellate division remain ripe. To this day, even the scaled-down version of the gag orders prohibit Trump from discussing or answering immediate questions about potential conflict that Judge Juan Merchan faces in sentencing Trump on 34 guilty verdicts, not convictions, 30 guilt verdicts, while the respondent's daughter, respondent being Merchan, daughter's company received a reported $12.7 million from Trump's chief political adversaries. The court made no definitive statement as to when the gag orders will expire. At the very least, absent relief from this court, the gag orders will, as modified, will remain in effect until at least September 18th, 2024. So, no, they're going to be here. And for all anybody knows, they'll continue in effect throughout the entire election cycle and into 2025 or beyond. We have no idea how long this is going to be. This gag orders are going to be in effect. Even if the gag orders have been terminated or expired, the issues raised by petitioner appellants merit this court's review because of the possibility of repetition and escaping review. What is that? That's a concept. So understand this. The way appellate courts work is they say, we're not going to just be fixing things so we can deal with a theoretical problem. It has to still be a problem that we can be remedying. Or it can be something, a case that has a possibility of repetition and escaping review. Possibility of repetition. So even if it's not, we're not fixing anything now, but possibility of repetition and escaping review. What does that mean? As First Department said in Big Apple Concrete versus Abrams, however, notwithstanding any possible change in circumstances, an appeal will not be considered moot where it meets the following criteria. There's 3 criteria that if you meet these 3 criteria, you still can bring it, even if you're not fixing anything with this decision. What are those criteria? 1, a likelihood of repetition either between the parties or among the members of the public. This problem that's being complained of, there's a likelihood that this problem will arise again in the future. That's 1. 2, you have to have all 3 of these. A phenomenon typically evading review, meaning it's a problem, but it's a problem that only exists for a short period of time. So by the time it works its way through the whole appellate process, it's never going to be ripe. It's always going to be something in the past. That doesn't mean you're not going to have a wrong that's going to happen again and again and again and again and again and again. That's the second criteria. And the third criteria is showing a significant or important questions not previously passed on, i.e. substantial and novel issues. You have to have all 3 of these in order to qualify as a possibility of repetition and escaping review. Now, I don't think I need to meet this here and now, but I do expect that if this case is moot, because this hangs around the Court of Appeals for a while. It hangs out there for a while. And by the time this thing comes before the Court of Appeals, by the time of deciding this, the gag orders have expired. deemed unnecessary by Judge Merchan, I still want the court to come along and issue a decision here so that we're not going to have this rule on the books going forward. Because I do think that this has strong possibility of happening again and escaping review. All three criteria I've met here. The gag orders are not merely likely to repeat. According to respondents, they have repeated. What does that mean? What do you mean this gag order is repeated? In fact, they did. You know who knows that? Me. I know that better than anybody. You want to know why? Because they brought it up in oral arguments against me. When I brought oral arguments in the first department, and I first brought my TRO at oral arguments in defense of the appellant's application for a temporary restraining order, meaning I brought a temporary restraining order. Now I'm the appellant, but back then when they were defending that, respondent claimed that the gag orders are valid because they were essentially the same gag orders issued by Judge Engoron in a civil case against Trump. So is it likely to repeat? We know it has repeated. It's happened more than once. They said, well, this was good law when Engoron did it, so it's good law now. It's pretty much the same gag order. So if you're asking a question, is this likely to happen again? Well, we've already seen it happen again. And they're the ones who admitted it. They're the ones who admitted that this is good law because it's happened again. It is foreseeable that every time the state brings any action against Trump, a similar gag order will be imposed. Moreover, now that the precedent of silencing defendants has been cemented by the First Department, it is incredibly likely that similar misanalysis and misapplication of Supreme Court precedent will be repeated against other members of the public. This will inevitably repeat the harm to the media and the public by infringing upon freedom of the press. So I need to keep bringing it back home to how I'm harmed, and I'm harmed because I can't hear from them. So that's why I'm saying I'm going to have this harm again when someone else is wrongfully gagged. Now I get to step 2, where I have to show, what was the second thing I had to establish here? A phenomenon typically evading review. So I got to show why is it that this is unlikely to ever be ripe by the time it goes through the appellate process. Often, the temporary nature of the phenomenon of gag orders will likely make them too slippery to face review during the pendency of the order. As the court is well aware, the appellate process can take months or years. The underlying petition was brought on the first day of a lengthy trial by the speedier process of an Article 78 proceeding. I went with a fast route. I'm coming here by the fast route. And still, the First Department was incapable of reaching a decision for well over a month until the day of verdict was reached. If respondent is correct that this speedy process was too slow to bring this application to the Court of Appeals in timely fashion, it is difficult to imagine any application achieving this court's review in timely manner when they typically work their way through more standard, slower appellate review. I went the fast route, and they're saying it was too slow. So when other people are not going the way I did it with an Article 78, they just go through a normal appeal process, that's even slower. How is it ever going to be ripe when it gets to the Court of Appeals? It never will be. It's always going to be something that happened in the past and is over now. The claims pressed by appellants are novel and substantial. An attack on our fundamental freedom of press speech is as weighty as an issue that can come as weighty as any issue that can come before the court. It is respectfully urged that this court alone must decide what New York's claim to the broadest protections of press and speech means and how that manifests in law. You guys got to decide this. No one else can decide this but the highest court in the state of New York. Several notable issues of law come before this court in this application, to wit. Does New York's broadest protections of free press speech permit the court to embrace interpretations that are narrower than those embraced by other circuits? You're saying that New York is the broadest protections of free speech in the world. Well, then how can it be less broad than the Sixth Circuit, which says you don't gag someone because their microphone is too powerful? Does New York interpret United States Supreme Court precedent as allowing free speech press infringement where, unlike Shepard versus Maxwell or other Supreme Court cases cited, no constitutional right is sought to be protected? This was a primary argument that I was making in my underlying case. I'm not going to go through the whole explanation of that because I've done that too often. I want to sort of work my way through here. In what scenarios, as ever, is the state or court's interest in the fair administration of justice cause for restricting free speech? What do you need to have? When is it good? Is it always? Anytime? What yardsticks must the court employ to determine that the interest in fair administration of justice justifies a gag order? Nobody knows. It's something they just made up down in the court below. Is it any time they say, well, we think it? I mean, what's the yardstick? How do you know? At what point? Can a court find compelling need to limit speech without engaging in due diligence to establish a causal link rather than a mere correlative link between the speech and the harm it purportedly is causing? Which is what happened here. Is that enough? Do you think that's enough? That there's a correlation? We don't know if this is the speech is causing it, but well, there's correlation in time. So even if it was caused by many other things, we're still going to stop you from speaking, which seems ridiculous. Absent engaging in due diligence, how would a court properly ensure that a limit on defendant's free speech is properly tailored? How do you know that the relief is sufficiently narrow the way it must be? What role, if any, does the case being a criminal matter affect the equation? We saw it work by Engeron. Now it worked in a criminal matter. Are both the same for giving a gag order in either scenario, whether it's a criminal or civil defendant? Does prohibiting a defendant from speaking about witnesses while allowing witnesses to speak freely impugn the public's perception of fairness of the trial? There's another question that this court should be addressing. Wait, you're going to have a gag order to stop him from speaking about witnesses, but the witnesses can be bashing him publicly? And how's the public going to react to that? That's something that the court should weigh in. And finally, bring it back home to the freedom of press issue. What role does the inevitable harm to freedom of the press play in addressing any of the issues raised above? I should have put a question mark there. That's a mistake. Each of these questions arise in the application and merit this court's time and attention. Appellants stress that the case at bar is indeed timely. The modifications do not remedy the harm resulting from the gag orders that impact the appellant's freedom of the press. However, even if the application were mooted or became moot, this court should still review the case at bar because it is capable of repetition and escaping review. Finally, they say that my claims are derivative of Trump's. So Trump raised his application, and once they reject Trump, you should not be allowed to listen to me because my claims all flow through Trump. So I have to make the distinction between myself being harmed and the harm to Trump. The wrongful gag order has prohibited Trump from communicating with appellants about the matter addressed here and above. Every communication has the capacity to benefit both speaker and listener. Appellants communicated with Trump, appellants being me and Good Logic, LLC, and raised questions about the political matters addressed here and above and were rebuffed, with the explanation being that he was prohibited from answering appellants' queries because of the gag orders. We went to him. We asked him questions. He said, I can't answer because of these unconstitutional gag orders. As the stories about the extent to respondents' families' entanglements with Trump's political rivals unfold, appellants have no opportunity to learn Trump's reaction and share that with appellants' followers. This is a direct harm to the appellant's fundamental rights of freedom of press. Based on the foregoing, appellants may take an appeal as a right pursuant to CPLR 5601B, since the Order of Appellate Division finally determined an action which directly involved pure issues constitutional law on the Constitution of the United States. Thank you. Respectfully submitted, Joseph. There you go. That's my update. That's how I changed it. Don't get into physics. When did I get into physics? Did I get into physics here? I don't remember doing that. I don't know. Anyway, so those of you who are following along on the whole Ungag Trump thing, that's your latest development. I still have a lot of filing stuff that I need to do in order to sort of check certain boxes and meet certain requirements that the Court of Appeals has. So it's going to take me a few hours tomorrow to get that done. But everything is being done timely. So I just wanted you to rest assured that the fight to ungag Trump and protect our freedom of speech and freedom of the press is secured. So we can all remain free, standing up for our First Amendment rights. And in New York, Article 1, Section 8 rights, which are supposedly even broader. That's my story. That's my show. Let me do a quick run around here, make sure I didn't miss anything because I sometimes miss the ghetto. Oh my God, I missed Barb Loves Alaska. Drop Tim Walz National Guard info in your DM on X. It's a video from the guy who replaced him when Tim bailed. Thank you, Barb. God bless her. I think that's the video we just watched. God bless you, Barb. You're awesome. Denise says, Joe, I don't know what you're talking about. 2020 election was the cleanest and fairest U.S. history. Joe really got 81 million legal and lawyer votes. Come on, man. Trust the science. Come on, man. A Rug Rodin says, Walz set up a COVID snitch line and canceled Thanksgiving. Also, a video of his wife enjoying burning tires during the mostly peaceful protests. He's such a disaster. Only a boneheaded idiot like Kamala could be like, this is the right call. This is the right call. A Rug Rodin says the Lawgic Davidian's wine is the best. Please, please. Oh, I missed this. Denise said, Joe, if she had been in my district, I think Denise means Cori Bush. I would have thought long and hard about voting Democrat ballot to vote against. That would have been fun. Go to hell. Go to hell, Cori Bush. Adios. All in all, a good night. That's my show. That's my story. I'm sticking to it. I will see you all tomorrow. Yep, tomorrow. Tomorrow is the day. I'm going to see you all, God willing. Yeah. So don't eat the bugs. To hell with the friggin' lab meat. I'm Joe Neerman, and you're not. Good night and Godspeed.